I'm really doing great. I'm doing good.
I wanted to ask you, what do you think as a young, dynamic, aspiring African, Ugandan? What do you think? Do you think Uganda is poor? Is a poor country?
Uganda is not a poor country. In my perspective, Uganda is not a poor country. Only a few things makes it to be a pure country.
Please, more specific.
Yeah. So actually that's why they say Uganda is a part of Africa. Being a part of Africa, it is in theory, but it is not yet in practical that yes, indeed, Uganda is a part of Africa.
So, what's lacking according to you?
What's lacking, according to me, is humanity. Humanity, is what we call the principles of Ubuntuism.
Of what?
There is what we call Ubuntuism, Ubuntu ethics.
Hmm.
What the humanness. How should a human be? You find that most of the people, not all of them, let me say most of the people, if you are not dependable, if you are not, if I make an agreement, a contract with you, let's say I'm supposed to deliver A, B, C, D, and Z, and what I'm actually supposed to be bringing to you is not brought in time, then we say that you have no principles of Ubuntu. You have no ethical. So I see that despite the good nature and the good climate and the environment, what is lacking what is lacking is humanity. That kind of the inner human. Most of the people see we have got several cases of theft. They can steal anything, of which that one becomes, if what I'm trying to put on, someone is taking it, definitely, then we are going to be poor.
So, are you saying that the lack of moral principles are the
Thank you.
cause
Yes.
of poverty?
Not to that's a very good question. Not to entirely say that the lack of moral principles, but I would give it to an extent. Let me say to a larger extent, the lack of moral principles has massively contributed to poverty.
Okay, like moral principles, like what?
Moral principles like I think it should be starting with just the basics, caring for one another. Let's say they care for one another. If I look at your thing, let me take it into the perspective that this does not belong to me.
But
Uh,
people seem to care about each other here, at least in the families, what I've seen.
yes, people do, but there is another percentage where people don't. They really don't care. For example, let's say you have. This is a different setup with how Europe is. For example, let's say you have got an accident somewhere and people are coming to push you a little bit. And as you said, these people don't expect anything. So here is a different case. They are, let me say, they are money minded. They are money corrupted. Whatever they do, they want a return. So that's the perspective I'm trying to explain it.
Okay, what other moral principles do you think are lacking?
So the other moral principles that are lacking is the other moral principles that are lacking, and I think they have massively contributed to the breathing poverty, is that people have. I am not going to overestimate, but the godly part of it is also very raw, and the fact that these
The
people,
what? The what?
the godly moral of it, the faith of, okay, let me bring it in the name of Christ, how people their faith towards Christ, because I believe that if you are following the Bible principles, there are some things you are restricted of doing. Let's say over drinking, smoking, prostitution, among other things of which they can even ruin your life. So if I say that there is a percentage, people have failed completely to understand God.
Failed completely. That's a very harsh
Yes,
statement.
yes, I take it because you see, Christians go sleep in church, pray Monday to Monday, and when you go behind their back, what they do completely unbelievable. So they have failed to appreciate what was written. They have, let me say, let me make it clear. that most of them have misinterpreted what was written in the Bible. And this has caused more harm than good. What is the essence of you going to church from Sunday to Sunday to Sunday, but again you find yourself doing the opposite of what actually Christianity is against? That was also really contributed. You see, recently they just took our thing, and you might find that these are some of the people who are going to church every single day, but that's what I'm trying to express it. That since the people, according to me, according to my observation, since the people have failed to appreciate the humanness in the biblical part of it, it has really made people to remain poor. Because let me now bring it in another perspective with Christianity. In Christianity, we emphasize charitable work, helping the needy and the helpless. Look at the man from Windy. Here I am. There are some completely huge and rich people here. But why you find that why are we grieving to get the support from Europe? There are some people who can support here, but it is on a very tiny perspective. Despite the income inequality, because I believe every country has got income inequality, let's say Europe, Uganda, everywhere. But here, the rich are rich, but they don't want to share. That's the problem that is there. So despite them going to church, you find their kind of giving and giving without return. That's what the Bible emphasizes. If you are going to give me a pen, don't expect me to pay you back. That those are the principles of the Bible. What actually should a good Christian? Those are some of the principles a good Christian should be possessing. Give and expect God to reward you, but not the other person to pay you back. So I find out that since the people have failed to appreciate these principles very, very well, it has really ruined our lives. Because I have been having several ambitions. Let's say I want to now, I am being pursuing a degree in law, but now I'm stuck. The tuition is not seen anywhere. And I wrote to a certain organization in Europe, anonymous hope fund, so that these people can support me, because I have tried here their organizations, but they are so stingy. The rate of corruption is unbearable, and these are the people who go to church. So that is the point I'm trying to express.
So, according to you, Africa without Christianity or before the influence of Christianity, what is your experience? I mean, you grew up in Windy. You had no. Did you have Christianity when you grew up?
By the time I grew up, actually, by the time I grew up, it is when, let's say, Christianity had started coming in, being recognized. I did not fully in its entirety appreciate the traditional norms of how our grandparents used it to take to have, as far as worshiping and prayers are concerned. Because I do believe of what our grandparents narrated before the coming of Christianity. The traditional Africans, they had their principles on the basis on how they followed and what they did to live in harmony, to live in a harmonized
So,
environment.
what were the principles?
Thank you very much. That's a very good question. Actually, when you see the traditional ways on how the Africans used to live and stay, they had that essence of caring for one another. It is actually what is in Europe. Europe, remember, told me that if there is a problem, whatever they done, it is for the good of the community. Let's say there is a public gathering, this is for the well-being of the community. Even the lower class people, they can go to a certain place and they have good fun, and it is completely what is not here today. But before, however much it was not on a greater extent, they had that kind of togetherness. If there was, let's say, a boy who could be born, he could not be born to a specific family. A boy who was born for the whole clan, was born for the whole society.
Okay.
And in the case of anything that happened, these people could come together. Let's say it is time for cultivation, they are going to plant something. They plant as a community, they harvest as a community, they eat as a community.
Yep.
That has been completely been demolished. People are doing things on an individual basis, and that's why you find totally those who are completely having nothing and those who have something. But if we were still on our grand roots of the traditional African, wow, amazing, amazing. People were really doing good because they worked as a community. Let's say the well has got a problem, no water is coming in, they gather. Nobody could stay at home if there could be a communal work going on because it is for the well of the whole society. Everyone had to come in and put it in the right
So
way.
what about the religious traditions?
The religious traditions. Now, even the same thing with the religious perspective. However, on the religious perspective here, I now disagree with the principles on how our traditional people use it to behave as far as worshiping is concerned. Because when we analyze the weaknesses of the traditional way of worship or the religion part of it, you see that it was not nice at all. Let me say it was not. Let me not spice it. It was not nice. How was it nice? How was it not nice? One, they used it to worship in darkness, not in openness. They used it to do their prayers during in darkness.
Wait a